Brad, you've got some. You have a flag. We can all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Maybe don't stand. I can't see below your waist, so just stay like that.
I don't actually have a flag, sir. It's
Just check.
outside. It's outside. I could carry a computer out there and take a look.
There is one addition to the agenda under personnel for resignations for Rachel Johnson. Are there any other changes or additions to the agenda?
I don't have any more.
Okay. As we go through and vote, I will call your name out. Then you can vote for or against whatever motions tonight, just to let you know. So I'll be calling each person's name out. So right now, I just need a motion to approve the changes to the agenda.
So move. Tony.
Second, Jim.
All right. Tony made the motion and Jim seconded. Callie, yay or nay?
Yay.
Kelly?
Yay.
Jim?
Yay.
Tony?
Yay.
And I am a yes as well. All right. Moving on to reports then. Does anybody have any questions over or any of the reports that were?
No questions here.
No questions.
Should I go through each one and ask them? I see that some of them are on.
That's fine if they have something to add.
I don't have anything to add to my written report unless someone has any questions about it.
No. Thank you. Mr. Oliver, you have anything to add? Nope. Mr. Craighead, do you have anything to add?
No, sir, I have nothing more to add to my report.
Mr. Nisley, do you have anything to add? Okay, he has nothing left to add. So moving on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
This is Kelly, and I would move approval of the consent agenda. This is
Tony,
Kelly. I'll second that.
Tony seconded. Okay. Callie, vote.
Yay.
Kelly,
Yes.
Jim,
Yay.
Tony,
Yay.
and Justin is a yay as well. Motion carried. Moving on to old and new business, facilities and bond election. Mr. Starnes.
Yeah, the situation with our facilities and bond, our last board meeting, regular scheduled one, we talked about postponing and had postponed that May special election. And just thoughts on us looking to postpone that till November with the general election. I think that for the way the economy is and everything, we don't have a good understanding to this point of some of the things that may or may not be taken into with COVID. But with that, then it would hopefully give us opportunity to get in front of people and get more and personal and face-to-face and door-to-door in those town hall meetings and the things that we're needing and wanting to do prior to an election. And the other reason, which I think is justified, is the fact of not spending the money to do it. The roughly 20 to 30,000 if we continue with HTK, and then the cost for the special election to do that. I would rather just go ahead and would recommend that we postpone that till November, and then everyone understands what we're doing and keep moving forward, but know that that is a possibility in November, and then allows us to have a very or more comprehensive communication plan, some things that we want to talk about and look and add to. Then if a situation where the bond election didn't go favorably, then we'd still have the opportunity to come back to a special election prior to those bond mill levies coming off of the record book. So that's what I would anticipate or talk about, or what you guys thinking of about that.
Well, I'll start. I feel like that's about our only move at this point as well. We have some personal interaction that we need to have with some patrons prior to getting this vote to happen anyways. So I'm okay with that. Callie, you have anything to add?
No, I think I'm okay with that too, with the uncertainty of what's going on and not knowing how long this will last or what the deal is. I think everything is kind of uncertain. And again, I just kind of think this is probably not on the forefront of everybody's minds right now.
Kelly?
I would just echo your comments. I agree that unfortunately, given our current state, I think our best move is to wait until November. Hopefully by that point in time, things will be in a different situation and we'll be able to get out in front of people between now and then. That's it.
Jim?
Yeah, I reiterate Brad's point on it definitely gives people something, or at least a solid idea of when it will be for sure. And it's not just something that's hanging and we're just waiting and ongoing looking to potentially set a date. I think it's good to have a date set, and I think it makes sense for it to be in November.
Tony?
I think it's probably our only option, and it's the smartest plan of attack.
There you have it, Mr. Storms.
That sounds great. One of the things that would also like to discuss before that is some things with, have talked to Jim some about things that he's talked with others about with a comprehensive communication plan, and some things with a risk assessment type of a standpoint. And from hearing some of the people that he is conversing with about the paper is not their best option in communication. And as we know, younger people pass bond issues. And so are we doing enough with social medias and some other things to attack or to get information out there, and et cetera, and et cetera. So that would just be something for us to communicate or talk about and discuss some about that.
And I can add a little bit to that conversation. What I've heard, at least from some individuals, is because they don't get the paper, or because at times it's either not much information or it's a lot of information at one time. That information isn't always easily ascertained and understood. So as I was talking with Brad, I think the social media is a great way, and I think many parents and teachers especially are using that now. And I think that's good. And the more we can get in terms of being active on social media, one thing that I saw is that could potentially benefit us is if we could set up some form of email system where we could request that individual sign up for, say, a newsletter, as an example, and we can put out information using that kind of as a realm of communication. I'd be open to input from other individuals, but I know for myself on a daily basis, I don't go out to the school's website. I do receive the paper, but I'm kind of a rarity in my generation in that sense. And in terms of the other communications that happen on social media, I see the stuff that's posted, and sometimes I catch it, and sometimes, depending on how often I'm online or how often I'm on Facebook, I may or may not see something that's posted by the school. But I do check my email every single day and frequently throughout the days. So that being said, I see that as, at least from my perspective, as a potential way that we could really get a lot of community involvement. And I'm interested in other people's perspectives on that.
Brad or Cheryl, I guess, can you explain to me, is that possible for us to send out email blasts to anyone who signs up? I mean, do we have a manner in order to do bulk email?
Yeah, we can, a lot of the information that's been shared so far about the continuous learning plan that we utilize through our Aptigee. Aptigee is our website person, and also then we utilize a third party called ThrillShare that allows us under one setting to be able to get everything out to Twitter, the Wabunsee Superintendent Twitter account, to Facebook, the USD 329 Facebook account, to the website, to anything that we want to put out there on emails, to choose different people to send it, staff, students, parents, etc. And then the last piece of it would be actual in a phone call. And so all those things are available under one type of medium that we can utilize.
So I would take it we're not utilizing all of those avenues currently, then. I mean, I guess my question is are we, I mean, I know I see it on Twitter, I see it on Facebook, I get the text message, I get the phone call. I guess I don't know if I've been getting it on my email or not. I wouldn't, it's not coming to me, so.
And Brad, just for clarification, anyone can sign up for that, not just our parents or students?
That's correct. We've had some that have asked to be put on it.
So what would be a manner in order for us to get that communication out, that anybody can be a part of that communication process, so they know they can?
Yeah, that's kind of the crux of the question, because we're doing what we can with those that have a direct relationship, I think, with us in terms of the parents and the teachers. How can we reach out to that group of the communities? That's a good question.
Can we also promote like the app? Because people sign up to get the app and they get notifications that go through the app. I know there are people that are not parents, that maybe are grandparents right now, that get notifications on changes and things that happen through the app that way. So isn't that something that we could promote the app and use notifications through it?
Yeah, that's another good source, I think.
And then that way we're not adding lots of people to an email list that may not want emails about continuous learning and things like that. But it's easy if you get the app notification to know that this is about the facilities or bond issue or something, and there's new information to go out and look at then, because you get a notification from it.
I also think the community has to want the information. We can't force feed it. There is a lot of avenues out there right now. I get notifications from Facebook, the app, and email. But yet I still talk to people who have the same access I do that have no idea what's going on. Because they're tuned out. That's the question. They're not going to give you their email either, and they're not going to go look. But they'll probably be some of the first to complain.
Yeah, I definitely think that's true. I think there's some individuals that really don't care and could care less. But I think there are some individuals that would be interested in getting the information, and it's knowing that they can get the app and be signed up for email lists. I think that's kind of, at least to me, that's what's important, is that making sure that those that might be interested actually know there's an avenue that they can actually get it. So whether that's through, and I hate to go back to necessarily just the paper, but the paper, or trying to share via Facebook and have multiple individuals share the fact that we have an app and that app can be used, I think could be really helpful. So trying to get individuals to share that information, I think could be really helpful.
I think social media right now is being utilized pretty heavily, more so than maybe it had even previously, just because everybody's so disconnected from everybody else. So, but it might be a prime time now to put something out on the Facebook pages and ask other people to share them on their pages, so that they can reach more people. Instead of it just being on the Wabaunsee page, it can be, please share this on your page. And then that hits other people in the county who don't maybe necessarily subscribe to the Facebook page for Wabaunsee. But I think social media right now, everybody's on it. I know, shoot, I got back on Facebook because I just want to see people. So I think that would be a good source, at least now, to start trying to reach those people who maybe don't get the app, or don't have the app, or don't want it, or don't take the paper. So that just might be another way to share it. It's just asking them to share it on their Facebook pages too. So.
Yeah, if we can get out there, I'll share it for my 2 followers.
Me too. Put it on TikTok. Go viral.
I would think there would be lots of different options to be able to communicate. And I thought that's what our plan was as we went, got closer to, and we're starting to actually move towards an election. And in order to do so, and one of the ways would be through some type of social media campaign, or through, I shouldn't say campaign, that's probably not the right term, social media information sharing. Someone had suggested to me about geo-targeted marketing on Facebook, that might be an option. And Brad, I think Galen might have more information about that he could share with you, or other ideas that administration may have in which to reach additional individuals, I think would be good.
So with that thought process too,
So I guess let's get that on our Facebook page, that anybody. Sorry, Brad, go ahead.
Brad, you're muted.
Yeah, you're not on speaker. There you go.
So for clarification, I could go ahead and just utilize the ThrillShare app about the fact of, and that goes, like I said, to everybody that's on those lists, or to Twitter and Facebook and to everything all at once about asking them to share with others the site, letting them know that the election will be in November. And then the other thing, is there anything else that wanted to right now specifically get out to them?
You could
Oh, the
quote
app.
advertise the app. Yeah.
Can I interject for just one moment? I would like to announce that Don Frank joined the meeting at 6:18. This is Cheryl Zeller.
Welcome, Don.
Good evening.
Yes, Brad, I think that we need to get that communication out. And obviously, I know Jim doesn't read the paper, but we probably ought to put it in the paper too.
Yes, I will do so.
All right. Any further communication around that?
I would definitely look into that geo tracking that Kelly brought up. That's a really good point, Kelly. That's whatever you guys can find on that. I think that sure is the marketing avenue that everybody's headed towards right now.
Are we discussing the topic of the assessment as well as a part of the same discussion?
Yes, I think that, yeah, this would be an opportune time.
So I was talking with Brad earlier last week, and I had the thought, and I would be curious about others' input, but as a part of kind of preparing ourselves for the bond election in November and presenting information that we'll eventually, hopefully, be presenting to individuals through town halls and other meetings. I thought it would be really beneficial for us to do or have an assessment done of the existing conditions of the buildings themselves. And I thought this might be a really good time to do that, considering there aren't anyone in the buildings currently. So initially, how I thought or I considered this initially was because when we were going through the buildings themselves, there were several things that Freddie was pointing out that I felt would be really beneficial for the entire board as well as everybody in the community to kind of know about, not just things that we have issues with as they currently exist, but things that we're going to have to deal with in the next year, the next 3 years, the next 5 years, that are of different concern levels and different costs associated. So I had a very, very draft list of kind of things that I had looked at, but we didn't actually go through and discuss in detail what would be the cost of, say, getting this repaired to where it needs to be, or what exactly is the time frame for getting that roof replaced. So I felt like this could be a good beneficial time for us to have Freddie go through each one of our facilities and comprise a report that basically detailed existing conditions, areas where there is going to need to be something done that would be considered significant in the very near term, like in the next year, and then so forth and so on in terms of in the next 3 years and the next 5 years, to give individuals within our communities and ourselves a better understanding fully of what exactly we're up against for our operating costs as it relates to maintenance of the facilities themselves. And that can be expanded into transportation as well, looking at each one of the buses and saying, well, this is the age of our existing bus fleet. this bus we're going to have replaced in the next year. This one's going to have to be done in the next 5 years. It really puts numbers down to a specific level of concern to where people, I think, could be able to see exactly where we stand and where we're going to be in the next 4 years, next year alone, if nothing is done. So I wanted to float that idea up to the group and get your opinions on it. Like I said, I think now's a really great time, and it gives us an opportunity to really get a full understanding, hopefully, of all the concerns that he notes within that report.
Jim, I think that's probably, I mean, anything that gives patrons an idea of what the upcoming costs are going to be, so that they can't, the questions about, well, why can't we just continue doing this the way we are doing it? It might help kind of circumnavigate that. Maybe kind of help people understand why we're worried about it now. So, I mean, I think that's probably a fairly decent idea.
Have you talked to Freddie at all about that?
Yes, I've talked to him about looking to do that and start developing some of the, and I think that refers back to some of the things that Jim made comment about too little or too much information, because some of the information you as board members have been hearing for 2 years about, that, like, for instance, a roof study that we had by Trimco, and then the HVAC that we had Train and the other energy group in, that also Snyder Electric provided us information on all the HVAC systems and those type of things. So there's some of those things. It would take some time. For instance, the high school, for instance, that leak in the foundation, what it would cost to, quote, fix that. And so we'd have to reach out to whether it's just to HTK as an educated guess, or their estimate. I don't mean to put that it would be an educated guess, but their estimate, and or some group to tell us what that may seem like, because some of it they wouldn't know specifically. But there are things, that I've asked Freddie to start putting that type of report together, and can help him with some of those things. And I think that would be a good thing to be able to produce that list that has these things.
This is Kelly. I just was going to add that I know we've talked about this previously, whenever it was, 2 years ago at this point, or however long ago we started this discussion, was about looking at really what are the conditions of our buildings. So is this just internally that we would create this, or are we looking to go out to have an external firm do a facilities condition assessment of our buildings?
This is Jim. I guess in my opinion, I would want to start internally, partially just to get an idea from an internal standpoint of exactly where we see ourselves. Another example, Brad had mentioned the foundation. Another example being the chimney being pulled away. I think some of it is going to have to be used with outside assistance or help in getting estimates, such as HTK. They've been so heavily involved, and I think we've relied on them thus far to provide us appropriate and accurate estimates. So I don't think it would be something out of the realm to rely on them, provided we still can. Brad can clarify on that. But as much as possible, I think it could be something that could be done internally. That being said, I wouldn't be opposed to having an external firm come in to do an analysis of the buildings. But I feel like, at least during this time when we don't have students, We have a maintenance staff that has the capability and the time to do so. So in my mind, and maybe we do an analysis, and based on that analysis, we say, well, we need more information, and then we reach out to an external firm. But that's just my thoughts.
This is Kelly again. If I could add a little bit to that. Given our time frame between now and November, and this is something we would want to get out fairly quickly, to have an external firm do it will be costly for one. I know this just from my work background. And two, it takes a lot of time to get a real good quality, I guess, assessment done. So I would think we would want to maybe highlight some areas that we know are issues right now. For instance, the roofs, the HVAC, maybe some foundation issues that we know about, and go with that, because I think doing a full-blown building assessment would be difficult given our time frame at this point, and it's really costly to do that. And if our goal is not necessarily that we're, well, I guess our goal based on where we're at now with trying to do a bond issue isn't to necessarily repair our existing facilities. It is to instead build new, but we could use some of that information that we have foundation issues, or we have roofs that are need to be replaced in the next 2 years, or whatever it might be, and costs associated with those. I think just highlighting some of those as opposed to doing a full assessment survey might be better given our time frame and money.
Well, yeah, I think the issue becomes is we've gone through lots of specialists. I mean, one of them being on the board. I mean, Don's walked us through the HVAC problems that we've had over the last 4 or 5 years. We've gone through a lot of this, but I think what Jim is maybe asking is to get that all in one form that we can all see and get a good visual understanding of that. So when we are talking to the public, we don't just bounce to the roofs needing to be replaced. There's way more to this project than just repairing roofs, or just repairing HVAC, or just repairing a leaky foundation. It's spread across the district. It is not concentrated on any one building. Here is the list of every building. And I believe maybe some of that should be sent out to our teachers who are in the rooms every day. You know, maybe Freddie ought to send out an email and say, let me know, here's a list of things I have with your building. What am I missing because I'm not there every day? You're there in and out of it all the time. Can you help me come up with some more things that I'm missing? Because I'm sure that there'll be some everybody would overlook.
I think it just helps lend to the transparency too. I mean, we've been very transparent about why we need new buildings, but it just adds another layer to that if people can see, oh, that's what that would cost. Oh, that's the whole list of things that are wrong. It would just, I think, help be a little more tangible for people if they could see what exactly was going on.
This is Kelly again. I agree. I think we need to try to do it internally the best we can,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
given our time frame and the expense it would take for an outside firm. I mean, obviously, if we could get an estimate of, well, how much an estimate for foundation work or something like that we don't have the expertise to know what that actual cost is, that's one thing. But to have them do the assessment, I think would be difficult at that point. And I think it is a good idea for us to have a detailed list, but yet in a summarized fashion to be able to share with people.
Yeah.
Brad, do we still have HTK on some sort of a retainer, or is that on pause?
Well, we get the final billing from them from the initial 5,000, but in a sense on pause. I mean, we can continue to utilize and lean on them for some things, but the initial amount that they had agreed to and we'd talked about, we got the final billing on that piece. But so I still think that because they don't bill us for all the hours, they've done a lot more than what the 5,000 that they charged us. So that I am sure, because I just, in fact, had emailed today Elizabeth about some stuff. So we'll continue to move forward with that, and I think we can continue to utilize them. Not as in depth as like what Kelly and have Jim mentioned as far as an external assessment piece, but at the same time where they can give an idea of estimates and some different things that Freddie can, because he does know the buildings. I mean, he's in and out of them. He understands, because those are the things he gets calls about. And it's important for him, I think, through this process too, to be seen as the maintenance person and help with that. And as I said, he knows a lot about those, and he's not putting fire to fire out right now. And so I think that it's an aggressive time for him to be able to do that.
I would agree with that, since we've echo what Justin has said too, and Kelly both really. We've already had mechanical systems. I mean, we've had several reports done. We've spent a lot of money already on different reports and evaluations, and I have no problem with Freddie going around and making a list and documenting and a report of some sort that we can put out in the form we were just talking about a little while ago of everything going on. But I don't think it's smart money to put more money into an outside source. And I would, like Kelly said, there's not going to be enough time to get that as thorough as, and there's no way to get it thorough. I think the more the public has a better understanding of, I don't think they need to know how many screws we're going to need. I think they just need to know more of what the projects are going to cost, I guess, to me, to where I would hope Freddie could handle that. And like you said, where he's not fire to fire, and use some of the reports we already have. We've had reports in the last couple of years, if I'm not mistaken, that we've seen come through.
Right. We have HVAC reports, two different forms and those, just FYI, those did not cost us anything, nor the roof study that we had through Greenbush and Trimco as their sub. So we have those available to us. And as I said, they didn't cost us anything. Where they get their money is with the HVAC thing, is the energy performance contracts on the back end. So those things are all available to us, that's for sure.
Any other discussion around that?
I I think that's a good idea. If we could get Freddie out there and go over things, he knows. If he needed some help, I'd volunteer to help. You know, I think it would be good to have some photos of some of the troubled spots, but not all. It's not just like you said, Justin. It's not just the roof, the HVAC. It's the total age and the separation and the amount of buildings that we have, why we're in that position that we can't maintain what we have. So it'd be good to let them know that, excuse me, and just get that information out. But I think it's very doable internally.
I think just this is Jim.
I'd add one thing to that, and Jim.
Go ahead.
I was just going to add about our fleet. Our fleet. I would like to get a rundown on our buses too. I think that's important. We've skipped buses for several years, and I know we got one last year, but that's something that I don't think we have heard much from, other than in Freddie's written reports about repairs going on. That's an important piece as to why we haven't kept up with buses, is because we're overspending in our facilities budget. So I think that's important for the public to find out as well.
This is Jim. The only thing I would add as just a discussion, I guess, is through his review and pulling all of this together, I think it'd be really beneficial for us not just to look from a reactive standpoint in terms of existing, what do we have problems with right now, but I think and Justin may have fallen off, but it may be just as important from our perspective to get a proactive look in terms of, we may have X number of HVACs that need to be replaced in the next year, but if we have 3 or 4 more of HVACs that need to be replaced in 2 years, that should also be on our radar. In the same respect with the roofs, with the transportation, with virtually any aspect that would be, our modulars, the condition that they're in is important, but also what's important is, what is that condition going to be in a year from now? And are we going to have to address it then? And if so, we need to have that included so that people know that's another cost we're going to have.
Yeah,
Sounds
I
good.
understand. I understand and agree that one thing that with direction and what we talked about in the past too was some of the things with, like, for instance, HVAC units. It's hard to put a number on that. I mean, we can say that the life of those are supposed to be 15 years, and this is a net amount of units we have over that 15 years. But also the direction that we were given before is basically write them till they're done, because in a taxpayer's mind, in your own home, you don't replace it just based upon, I think it's going to go out, you know what I mean, type of scenario. So try to use some form of justification within that as well to ensure that, this is how many we have that are over this age, and the lifespan of these are typically 15 years, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing around that, though, they may be able to provide some efficiency information for us, because we, different than my household, we have 30, 40 HVAC systems that are operating inefficiently every day, costing us more money, whereas my house is only running on one air conditioner that may be inefficient, but the cost savings to replace 40 of them, even though they're not wore out or broke yet, may outweigh. So I believe we need to lean on them for that information as well. Is there any other discussion around that? Okay. Moving on to the next item then. Brad, is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so review of continuous learning student parent surveys.
Just as I made mention in the notes, we put out those continuous learning surveys to our parents, and we had 119 parents or families that had responded. And the initial information that we'd gotten out, we had over 308 families, people that responded to the initial information about internet service, about food. It's about, in just a second here, I'm pausing because Jerome is now in. And so that is 646, Cheryl.
Thank you. Got it.
Okay. And so with that, just the information and being able to share what's out there. And so just for instance, I'll show you this screen real quick, and here's well, it'll take a second here, but it allows me to go through all the information and set up the spreadsheet, as well as being able to provide graphs of what everything looks at. And so each one of those questions I can graph and see what it looks like and how that is. So okay. So with that, try it again. And there you go. So this is an example of the survey results. And over on the right, you can see the Explore piece of it that has the graphs and has the information of where I pulled all the information from. Are you able to see that? So I can get,
Yes.
okay.
What you're-
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I can get all that information on each of the surveys that we put out there. So that one is for the feedback from the parent responses, and lots of good information. 95% of our parents are somewhat to very satisfied with internet access. 90% somewhat very satisfied with the device access. 96% very to somewhat satisfied with communication from their teacher in the district building and the amount of schoolwork assigned each day. And then 99% somewhat to very satisfied with the quality of the value of the schoolwork assigned. So feel like that, at least from the information that we're getting back from parents, is that it's been very good and very positive, and so appreciative of that. The other thing that wanted to talk about was from that parent survey, though we had 20% of our parents, the highest identified need was mental health. And so that is the national average of those 1 in 5 say that they have issues with mental health nationally. And so that's been a big concern of ours. We've sent out information through the Apogee, through the Thrill Share to everyone and to our parents and those involved about utilization of Crosswinds and our own school mental health people, and to be able to access them. And they've seen an increase in that. So, and if you haven't seen the page that is, I'm sorry, got the wrong one. Got the page that shows, there's a page that actually shows from Emily Henderson, our school liaison, that she can, and shows you how to sign up and do things. And then here's the one from students, and we had 59 students that responded as well. So lots of good information about things and things that I can continue to explore, and things as far as like with this one, how many hours are they going? And you can see then 1 to 2 hours, 16, 2 to 3, 10, less than an hour, 0. So more than 3 hours, 4 of the people that responded. So there's lots of information that we have, and we'll continue to look at that and put out information. They didn't, the students, which is always how it goes, don't necessarily feel as strongly as the parents, but 59% said they were great, doing okay with another 21% great, but have some down days. So that piece. 1% are really struggling or anxious about grades in school, and the best part of their week is reconnecting with classmates. The biggest struggle that they indicated was developing a daily routine or organization, which those that are working from home can understand that. That is a big part for us all. Instead of the freshman 15, it's the quarantine 15, I tell you. The other thing is how much time, again, we talked about how much time they're doing that. They miss their friends and teachers. And that's part of the social aspect of school. And I think that some of the principals, and Jan has talked about it, and administratively we've discussed this, is just being able to control environment, which is hard to do, and set that environment out there and culture, and build a culture when you're not to this point of being face-to-face with students and rubbing elbows and doing all those kind of things. So that's something that we're going to continue to look at. One of the things I did want to identify too is the special education services within that continuous learning plan. And our people are being having face-to-face contact or monitoring through not face-to-face, but virtually doing that through much with Zoom meetings and other things. And we've also had some things I think that need to be out there, is the fact that the administration, from some of the things that were shared in student journals, then shared things with the mental health people and even to the extent of law enforcement. So we've got kids that are hurting and needing help, and we want to help them as much as possible. And so we're doing everything we can to help identify those and get that information out there. So I think it is important that you have data that you can actually see versus, well, I heard this or I heard that. And what we hope to do is resend that information again during this time period. Not for sure if it would be 2 weeks or a month or whatever it may be, but to be able to continue to look at things. I would really like to commend our teachers and administration. They are really doing a great job of contacting people. If we don't hear from people, they are contacting them. And then also staying in contact regular basis with all their students. One of the things that we hear is the fact of some saying, hey, you know, an example, senior, I'm working 40 hours a week now. And so homework and things are kind of being, just tell me what I got to do basically to get through this. And grading across the board has been an issue, not only in our district, but nationally. You look at any forum or anything that's out there, and it's lots of information about grading. How do you grade participation and effort, and the graces that we need to be extending with the mental health piece, but at the same time have a sense of accountability and what we need to do as professionals in preparing students for the next year and the standards that they're going to be held accountable for, and et cetera. Because ultimately, like we've always talked about, our main responsibility is beyond the doors of Wabunsee, that our kids are prepared, and we, again, can prove that, prepared when they leave our schools to be successful. So that just is a continuation. It just isn't a 12th grade thing. It's a K-12 attitude and the importance of building upon that. So, but I wanted to really share that information. We will have the state board meets tomorrow, actually, and goes through the continuous learning plans. KSDE did approve ours the day we sent it in, so it wasn't sent back. And then I think for the most part, those are going to be pretty much looked at and then approved by the state board tomorrow.
Good. I do appreciate all the work that the teachers have done. I mean, I've seen several emails come across. It's quite a challenge for them, and man, I feel like I've gotten several compliments from parents about the process that we initiated as far as just getting the iPads out, running the school bus routes to get the iPads delivered. The implementation process, although there was glitches, I'm sure, someplace, but seemed seamless for the most part. For something we've never even practiced. It's not a fire drill. It's not a tornado drill. This isn't something we've worked on. So they need a pat on the back and a good job, because they've done fantastic.
This is Jim. I completely agree, Justin. I think it's been really tough on parents, teachers, students, but I think our teachers have done a great job, and I think parents are doing a good job of stepping in this time when it's need to be done. I had a couple questions, Brad. I don't know if you know the answers or not. These are just kind of inquisitive things that just came across my mind. I was curious what the percentage of responses were to actual number of like parents and students for those surveys. Do you know what the response rate was? Oh, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I can tell you because I wonder if some of it is that, well, I already filled this out. And so, but we had 119, our initial one, when we started that, we had 328. So, and of that, 119 compared to the 328. So, I don't know what initial percentage that is, but as I said, some of them may felt, well, I already filled something out or gone through it. I'm not sure. But so I feel like we've had a lot of good responses because in a lot of things you'll hear about those that have issues. And the one thing that I will say has been really good about our parents and people stepping up too is a lot of people have really gotten themselves to, in the true leader in me form, and the things we keep preaching about is responsible for destinies. I mean, they go to areas where hotspots are and do the stuff or download or do things. And so we haven't seen that, quote, so much of the internet issue. There are a few, but there's other things that have been happening too, like AT&T providing, if you are a person that is under SNAP, that particular food group, then you can receive a free modem. And so our people, I think, have really stepped up. I think they will continue to do it. And I think it's been really positive for our people to do it. It's the same with the meal responses. I think it's important that, and you're going to hear some of my philosophy, I guess, here on this piece of it, but I don't want to become a socialistic type of, we're dependent upon everything from that. And I think it is important that we provide for our people that need help. And we have been able to do that. And we have a lot that are taking advantage of that. And I'm appreciative of that. And anything we can do, we've shared with information about harvesters, about community ministry outreach. We've also served about 64 meals a day on the grab and go. So we are getting people out there that are taking advantage of that. So, and again, you try to weigh that versus CDC guidelines and regulations too, because then you hear about other school districts, large ones that had a number of meals that were being served, which is important, but they had to shut them down because of the virus situation. And I don't, again, getting back to philosophy, from the very beginning, no one at risk, whether that's students, staff, or the district, because I too have a responsibility, I think, as we all do, to the district in regards to liabilities. And so, and some things of personnel that I don't want to discuss in open session about some things with personnel that don't allow some things to happen. But anyway, because of the at-risk groups and the number of people that we have in those groups. So that's important as well. But didn't really answer necessarily all of the question,
right.
but
I had another just quick question. Yep. And I like to say no news is good news, so I hope that's the case. But related to our teachers themselves, because they've had to undergo a huge transition, you know, in a complete styling renovation of teaching. What is the feedback from teachers? I haven't heard anything, so I hope no news is good news in terms of they've been able to transition fairly well. But have you heard anything from the teachers themselves?
Well,
in terms of feedback.
Yeah, we've had we continue to have weekly meetings, and so that has been different at different levels. But the grading piece is the big part. Struggling with that piece specifically at the high school and some of those things. But we, as far as surveys, the other thing I heard from teachers was, look, we are tired of we're getting 6 emails a day from the district office and from the, just back off for a little while. So I chose not to survey them to this point and wait for a little while to see how things go. And then we do have a survey, much like this other survey that we've given, that we can utilize and give to them with some more specifics. But like you say, it's never been done before. It's new territory. I was never trained in this, but people, I think, are stepping up and really working hard to, because they care about kids. That's the bottom line. And that's why they got into it. So that's a positive thing.
Thanks, Brad.
You're quite welcome.
I'd echo thanking the teachers, and I would, if I could talk to the parents, just remind the parents, as a parent of myself, none of us knew what we were doing getting into this either. So as a parent, careful how high you hold yourself, to the perfection level. There is no perfection level in this. We're all learning. And I've only had about one parent that had to back off the cliff per se, just a little bit. Just relax. We're learning. You're not messing your kid up right now. Just as long as they're getting their work and they're contributing to their work daily. That's probably the main thing. Would you agree with that, Brad?
Yeah, I think that that's a good assessment, that they're continuing to be held accountable and moving forward with grace, which is hard to do because some of that is not objective. And so that's an important factor because you try to take everything into account of what's going on. And like you said, Tony, you don't know what's happening. If they're taking care of their siblings, if both mom and dad are gone and I've got to do this and then do this on top of that, it's new for me. I've never done that either. How do I do it all? And so it's important. But we, as you said, we're working through it. And the State Department of Ed uses this language all the time, pivot. So we're consistently pivoting. We thought this was going to be the right, but nah, this isn't. So let's pivot and do something else. So we continue to pivot.
Great, thank you. If there's nothing else, we'll move on. If there's more communication, we'll wait. All right, moving on then to personnel. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then we have we are approving the employment lists for the teacher rehire lists. And I'll do these, I guess, action item 2, 3, and 4, I'll do separate, if that's okay with everyone, unless somebody else has suggestion. Okay. So currently then, if there's no discussion, we just need a motion to approve the employment rehire list for the teachers.
So moved.
Dawn moved.
Seconded.
And Callie seconded. Okay. Cheryl, did you get that?
Yes, I did. Dawn and Callie.
Okay. Yes. Kelly,
Yay.
Jim,
Yay.
Dawn,
Yay.
Callie,
Yay.
Tony,
Yay.
Jerome. Yay. And I too am a yay. Passes 7-0. Next, we'll move on to the resignation, accepting the resignation of Rachel Johnson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I just need a motion.
So moved. Tony.
Kelly seconds.
Okay. Kelly,
Yay.
Jim,
Yay.
Dawn,
Yay.
Callie,
Yay.
Tony,
Yay.
Jerome.
Yay.
I too am a yay. Motion carries 7-0. Last item is approving the transfer of duties of Janice Chamberlain from Maple Hill Elementary Secretary to the 329 Board of Education Treasurer, and approving Jeannie Perry as a Deputy Board Clerk. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I just need a motion.
This is Kelly, so moved.
This is Jim. I second.
Okay, Kelly,
Yay.
Jim,
Yay.
Dawn,
Yay.
Callie,
Yay.
Tony,
Yay.
Jerome.
Yay.
I too am a yay. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, moving on to Mr. Starnes.
Yeah, I would just like to, with the transfers of duty, I'd really like to thank Julie Messicky for her 16 years of service to the district. Have said this before and will continue to believe that those positions are the face of the district. They're the first ones that answer phone calls, the ones that greet people, and a lot of people, their feeling about a school district or about a building or those type of things with secretaries and that are based upon those conversations and the initial face of the district being able to be in front of people. So I really do want to thank her for that. KSDE Food Service also has provided her a letter as well as a thank you letter and a certificate. And then the appropriate things from the board and the district in regards to retirement gifts are being given to her. Unfortunately, we can't have a reception, but have asked staff and anyone to be able to please shoot her an email, text her, call her, anything, thank you note, something like that, letting her know appreciative of her service. So she will be missed and thankful again for her service.
Yes, that's she's done a remarkable job. I would let her know that she's more than welcome to send me cupcakes and I'll celebrate at home. That's not a problem with me. So.
I got that down.
Okay.
One thing that I would also like to say is that on another thing is the propane bids have been let, and so we hope to act on those in May. And I have talked to co-op about the possibility of fuel, and there is a possibility that they may be able to work with us some. And I'm going to check with the other places. Just want to make sure that we're helping everyone locally as much as possible with that, but the possibility of contracting some fuel as well at different places. So have started that process.
Great to hear. All right, Kelly, you have anything?
I don't have anything further.
Jim?
Nope, I don't have anything else.
Dawn?
I'd just like to shout out and repeat what you've already said. Thank you to Brad, to Cheryl, to our office staff, and all of our employees that we have. They're doing a magnificent job of something that no one could have ever dreamed or planned for. And just kudos to them all, and thank you much for your service.
Thank you.
Callie?
I'll just echo what Don said as well. Just thanks for all the work, guys, and it's been a heck of a time. So thank you to all the staff and everybody.
Tony?
Same thing. Thanks to the staff, and thank you, Julie, for all your years of service.
Yeah. Jerome?
Nothing here.
Okay. Yeah, there's no district around that I'd rather have my kids be a part of, especially right now. That's typically true during regular school operating environment, but now is even more so. I appreciate the following up of the teachers and our mental health side of things. And whatever they need from a board of directors standpoint, I believe they should submit whatever they need in order to get in front of our kids that need it, and we'll work towards getting them whatever they need. That's my personal opinion. So, hearing nothing else, if there's a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Tony? And
I second.
I second.
Jim. You got it.
Tony and Justin. All those in favor say aye.
I mean, excuse me,
Aye.
Tony and Justin or Tony and Jim?
Yes. Tony and Justin. Got to get my name in the books, Cheryl. Motion carried 7-0. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye. Everybody stay healthy.
You
Stay
too. Thank you so
safe.
much.
Thank you for everything.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Cheryl.
You're welcome.